Guess who's back in the house? I hope that you guys are having a wonderful day. Today is Tuesday, Pose Tuesday, and I just finished watching episode 9, which is titled Life is a Beach. The episode was written by Janet Mock and Our Lady J, and I love when they write episodes. So this episode was lighter than some of the previous episodes. I like the diversity going from kind of like heavy to more light. Um, and so we start off with this trip that previously in the last episode, Blanca has lost all of the children in her house. And it's summertime. It's about 4 a.m. She's tossing and turning in bed, probably thinking about her children. She gets a call. Her salon has burned to the ground, and she actually goes to the site and she's heartbroken. The police are there doing an assessment, and it looks as if a bomb went off in the nail salon. And so Federica shows up, and she's kind of like faking, saying like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that my business has burned down." And so the police officer dismisses himself. Frederica talks to Blanca in private, and Frederica says that she raised the insurance coverage on the building because she knew something like this would happen. And because of that, she's actually going to gut the building, do some renovations, and triple the amount of rent for the next tenants as a part of the gentrification of this particular neighborhood. And so Blanca didn't have insurance. And so she has lost everything because she put her life savings into this nail salon. And so I was asking myself, like, what would I do in this particular situation? Of course, I would first file a police report to conduct a fraud investigation, and then file a complaint with the Better Business Bureau, and then I would contact a lawyer. But again, this is a trans woman of color during the 90s, and Blanca feels powerless in this situation. And so she has lost her children, and now she has lost her business. And so, of course, she is distraught. So, Lulu, Elektra, and Angel come over to the house of Evangelista to console her. And she tells them that she hasn't gone to the authorities because she doesn't have any power. And her mother, Elektra, says something that I really loved. She said, "This isn't the first time that any of us have met with adversities." And that's important to remember that in our daily lives, no matter what we're going through right now in the LGBT community, we are standing on the shoulders of giants, and our queer ancestors had it worse than us. And so if, they could march for our rights, if they could protest, we can get through what we're going through right now, today. And so I really appreciated that line, um, because I definitely needed to hear it. Uh, Oftentimes in my day to day, I get bogged down by little things, but I have to remind myself that, everyone is going through their own battle, but I have to just push through. Um, and so Electra kind of like has this flash of brilliance that, you know, we all have had a tough year and we should do a girls' trip. And so she then lists off kind of like things that have happened. Candy has died. And then she says Blanca ruined her house and lost her business. I was on the floor laughing. And then she tells them that they're going to go to the beach, which I think it's Long Island, but I'm not sure. They're going to go to the beach and that they should all wear swimwear and meet her at her place in the morning. And so at Elektra's house the next day, Lulu is having a meltdown. She's in like a two-piece swimsuit, and she has gained some weight, and she thinks because she's too curvy that she might be clocked on the beach, and she's getting anxiety. And so Angel tries to tell her that, you're fine, you're unclockable. And so Blanca arrives in kind of like this like tank top shirt and some shorts, and Elektra wants to get her something from her guest closet. And Blanca says that she doesn't like being exposed because if she exposed, it's easier to clock her, and she hates the summer and she doesn't like revealing her body. And so um, this made me think about kind of like I I teach writing workshops whenever I can, and I've had a number of trans students, and I've never kind of like put myself in the shoes of my trans students, and this show has really allowed me to put myself in the shoes of another person, especially a trans person. And so um, I have kind of like made it a point going like now to really help others, my trans brothers and sisters, any way that I can. And so I hope that this shines a light in the gay community that us gay men, we really need to help out our trans brothers and sisters however we can. If that means standing up for them in a situation where they are in trouble in public, to do that. Um, it's so troubling to see and hear about all of these stories of trans people being murdered in their communities. And I always wonder, kind of like, you know, if this happened in public, could no one have stopped this from happening? Um, and so I really kind of like love this about the show that it allows us to empathize with other people in the community. And so they go on the trip. Oh, before that, Angel says something that I really loved to her mother. She says, um, people will always have an opinion, and that's the part of living as a woman in a man's world. And what we need to do is replace those negative words with words of encouragement. And so parents of LGBT children, you can start by always giving words of encouragement to your children, or you could potentially lose them. um, in LA specifically, there is a huge homeless population amongst young LGBT people. And so parents, really embrace your children as they are. Also, gay men, if you see a lesbian woman or a trans person in a gay space, do not make them feel uncomfortable. Welcome them with open arms. Oftentimes, when I go out to West Hollywood, I see gay men upset if they see people who are quote unquote other in the space that they are share. and we are all a part of this community, and we all should be welcome in queer spaces. Um, and so, um, fast forward to the episode, Elektra gets a fake ID to rent a car to drive to a beach house. And so she has a client from her S&M club who likes being in latex and bound, and he loves feeling kind of like the heat of the latex. And so she convinces him that she should go to his beach house and have him locked up in a cage while she enjoys the luxuries of this beach house property. And so they all arrive. Electra, Lulu, Angel, Blanca arrive at the beach house, and she actually shows them the guy locked up in the cage. And so I don't know if I could be comfortable doing this, but I love Electra's role on the show. Um, she Her character serves a definite purpose on the show. She teaches us um, that we should know who we are at all times, and I appreciate her character development. She is one of the most complex characters on the show. Um, she has a tough exterior, um, but she's a softie at heart. And I love the person that she's becoming now on the show. The death of Candy has really shaken her, and I think she wants to be closer to her other children, and also to kind of like erase uh, the the reputation that she currently has in the ballroom scene, and she really is competing for Mother of the Year with Blanca. And so they all go to the beach, and Blanca and Angel are trying to um, teach themselves how to swim. And Blanca goes under, so Angel is screaming. The lifeguard, which I don't know if I just like was hallucinating, but it looked like he was wearing like lime green speedos, which I was like, I don't know if that's a lifeguard uniform, but it looked like he was wearing lime green speedos. I have to like rewind to see that. And so he saves Blanca, and um, he is performing CPR on her. And when she opens her eyes, she sees this gorgeous man. And he says something like, "Nice to meet you." And I could just tell that she has fallen in love with him on first sight. And so, fast forward, they go back to the house. Electra is in a panic, and she can't find any alcohol in the house. And so, which is hilarious. So she's asking her client, like, where's the alcohol? And he is in such a state of euphoria that, like, he's oblivious to everything that's going on. And it's almost comical that in isolation, in constant pain, he is in heaven, yet these four trans women, their everyday lives have moments of pain and isolation. So it's this weird contrast that's going on between this guy and the four characters that are at the beach house. And so there's no alcohol in the home, so they decide to go to a restaurant. And this is the scene that made me think it was Long Island, um, because of the restaurant, and kind of like the mood of the restaurant. They're only white people at this particular restaurant that they go to, and they just feel this negativity immediately, in that their presence is not wanted. And so, midway through the meal, Blanca excuses herself to the bathroom, and this woman comes up to the table saying that she works in the city and she knows what a man impersonating a woman looks like. Gosh, I could not imagine being in that situation, that this person has taken it upon themselves to try to make another person feel smaller. And Elektra immediately responds in a way that I love in true Elektra fashion. She does not miss a beat. And she tells her that, just because you have um, certain parts doesn't make you a woman, and it doesn't define womanhood, but strength defines a woman. And I love that, because people at my full-time job, I work in social media, and I was looking at I was going through Facebook feeds, and someone posted that Trump was reversing Obama's bathroom laws, stating that businesses don't have to allow trans people to use their bathroom of choice, but they can force them to use the bathrooms of um, the gender that they were when they were born. And someone in this post wrote, "Thank you, God, and thank you, Trump." It always startles me when I read posts like this, how people cannot understand what it is like to be a trans person and to be forced to use a bathroom that you do not belong in. And this person went on to state that, I would feel uncomfortable daughters are, if my daughters have to use a bathroom that a man could use as well. And the thing that I find kind of like interesting is that you never hear stories about trans people assaulting someone, but I constantly read stories about male pedophiles, straight male pedophiles, assaulting young children in bathrooms. And I say all that to say that earlier I said that Elektra's character serves a purpose in the story. Elektra is there to help remind us that we have to speak up for ourselves at the right time, because there is no redo. That if you're in a situation where someone is trying to take away your power, to belittle you, you have to respond accordingly and remind them who you are, and that they should respect you as you are. So that entire scene was incredible. And it was hilarious when Angel and Lulu said, when the woman leaves, "Oh, I thought you were going to give her your signature move and flip over the table." Hilarious. Blanca returns to the table and she tells them that she saw the lifeguard who saved her life. His name is Adrian, and he has asked her to go for a walk on the beach. And Elektra says absolutely not, because women like us, we cannot trust men after dark. And she said that's probably how Candy died. That, and she said this really powerful line that men don't kill us because they hate us, men kill us because of what it means to love us. I had to sit with that for a while because I never thought about it in that way. And we see it a lot with trans women who are in the public eye. Um, that with kind of like Laverne Cox and Janet Mock, how there are these conversations surrounding the men who love them, which is very stupid. And I think it was like someone, a trans woman, put on Twitter something to the effect of like, why is it that um, straight men who date trans women are seen as kind of like closeted gay men? Um, but it doesn't make sense to me at all. And so Blanca tells them that, should she die not knowing what true love is, and that this guy actually could be the one for her. And so she decides to go for this walk on the beach. And it is like something out of a Nicholas Sparks novella. They go for a walk. The moon is shining bright. He's saying the right things. She's saying the right things. He's in school to be a doctor. He knows that she has goals and ambitions. They look beautiful together. And um, I forget where he said that he lived, but or where he went to school, I should say. But I assume it's like in that area. And so Blanca, I guess, spends like the whole night with him because it's morning time when she goes back to the house. And so Elektra, Angel, Lulu are in a panic. They were like, "Where were you? We're about to call the police." And Blanca tells them that they didn't have sex. They just kissed and they talked. And she said that, she really needed to have that experience because not only was he a gentleman, but he knew that she is trans and that she didn't need to tell him. And not only did she not need to tell him, but he didn't care. And so this really reminded me of Janet Mock's love story. I first discovered who Janet Mock was about 9 years ago. One of my friends, Mista, um, we 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 loved reading blogs together, and he told me to go to this woman's blog and to read her very first blog entry. And her very first blog entry, she was having lunch with a female friend in New York City, and she was so distraught because she knew that she met the love of her life the first time seeing him, but she was uncomfortable, kind of like talking to him and asking him out on a date because of something that she couldn't um, tell him or be honest with him about. And so then he told me, so he just told me to like read the blog. And then he told me kind of to look at her picture. And so then he said, now look at her latest post. And so I read her latest post, and it was a post about her. Actually, not her latest post, but like one of the latter posts of the blog, and it said that um, she was engaged to be married to this guy, and that later on it said that she was trans. And that's how I discovered Janet Mock, who I'm sure all of you watching this know who Janet Mock is, but if you don't, Janet Mock is a Black Hawaiian who um, transitioned around the age of 13 or 14, and she went on to be the editor of People.com, and she is one of my sheroes. She is an editor, writer. I'm a writer. Um, her career um, is as a trans person. She is someone who has kind of like gone against the odds, and um, I think all of us should kind of like um, know her story, understand her story, but also applaud her from going from where she was to who she is now. And I absolutely love Janet Mock. And so, fast forward, the Elektra has an interesting conversation with her client where they're about to leave, and she tells him that you have a luxury life where you're choosing a life of loneliness. Um, but for some people, that is their reality. That all they know is loneliness. And so they all drive home, and Blanca has a voicemail from Adrian, and she calls him, and hopefully the next episode we get to know where they are in their relationship. And I'm actually excited about this. um, I was talking about this to someone, I forget who, but I said that now that Blanca, or I actually no, I think they told me this, that with Blanca gone, like what could happen, and they said, "Oh, I hope that she finds the love of her life." And here we are. And so we end the episode with this quote by Alice Walker, and it reads, "Is solace anywhere more comforting than that in the arms of a sister?" And I believe, I don't know, I think this is from The Color Purple. I tried to Google it, but I couldn't find it. But I think this is from The Color Purple. Alice Walker is an incredible writer. I have um, one of her books here, which it's the book before she wrote. It's either before The Color Purple or after, and it is a beast. Um, it has three different point of views. I have to like I have to reread certain books, and this is one that I have to reread constantly because it's like going in a lot of different directions. Um, but Alice Walker wrote this incredible short story. Um, it's called, I think it's called In the Garden of Our Mothers. And if you are an artist, it is a great story about the creative process. Um, and she's such an amazing writer. So read it if you are a creative person or artist. It is a book that will help you with your creative process. So we have reached the end of the trade review. I hope that you guys loved this episode of Pose because I did. I'm curious about your thoughts on the episode. Did you like that this one was kind of like significantly lighter? One thing that I left out is that when Elektra is driving back to the city, and everyone else is kind of like singing to In Vogue, that she sees Candy. And this was such a beautiful moment, because, like I said earlier, that it is Candy's death that has, we've really seen this transformation in Elektra. And Elektra also stated that she really missed Candy and she would have loved for her to be at the beach. And so it's a reminder that even though Candy is no longer with them, that physically, that her spirit is still with them. And so that was totally unexpected, but um, it was nice to see that, um, especially kind of like recently where there have been a lot of tragedies in the news. And it's comforting to know um, that people that are no longer here on this earth are, their spirit energy is still with us. And so I've been seeing some comments kind of like flash, but they just all just disappeared. So I can't see them now. Um, but thank you guys who are in this live chat with me. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate you coming every week. Um, I actually read them after the chat, and I need to figure out if I can respond to them after the video is over. I have to figure that part out. But thank you all. I really appreciate it. You really kind of like add to this for me seeing that you're out there with me live. So that's really cool. Please comment, and I'll figure out if I can comment after the video is over. Um, so until next week, I hope that you guys have a wonderful week, and I'll be adding more content soon. Um, so have a wonderful night. Besos.